This is Main Street with Gary Allen.
And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Main Street right here on the C News Network. Welcome. I hope everybody's had a wonderful time since we were on last week. We have some interesting guests on with me today, two people that are really, really wonderful people. One young lady who's written this wonderful book called The Color of the Elephant, about her adventures in Zambia in Africa, a place that she always wanted to go. And she was a member of the Peace Corps. We're going to talk about that. There's so much in this book. I cannot cover it for an hour, so I'm going to have Christine come back at some point and continue on with the discussion because she has done so much with her life. Our other guest is Jason Pollock, who's a friend of mine. He's a comedian, an actor, and he has done so much. He's going to be hawking his book too. I'm not sure what the title of the book is, but we're going to be hawking it. But if there's one thing that I want you to get out of this book is that this young lady is a person of service. She believes in it, and she lives by what she believes. Now, before we get into the program today, I want to thank a number of people. First, Michael and Grant Miller of the C News Network for giving me this platform and allowing me to present all these wonderful people to all of you. My executive producer, Mr. Rick Del Vecchio. Also, my studio producer today was Julian, who is going to be with us, I guess, pretty much on a regular basis. Also, our community sponsors, the Japanese Gardens of Miami, as well as the Elks Lodges of Miami. And I want to thank them all very, very, very much for their continued support of this particular program. So without further ado, if I could just bring Miss Christine Herbert, the author of The Color of the Elephant, and also Mr. Jason Pollock, comedian, bon vivant, and all-around nice guy, hawking one of his books. I have no idea what the title of it is. Show us the title of your book.
It's a coloring book called The Fly That Wouldn't Die, about an incident that happened to me while I was in the bathroom. The fly that refused to die. All right.
Well, that's a great way to begin the program. You two have known each other for quite a while. I guess you went to high school together.
We did.
We actually met, I think it was right at graduation or the day before graduation. Somebody introduced us. I'm so sorry I don't remember the details.
He remembers everything else in his life, but he doesn't remember these details.
It was so memorable, but he doesn't remember anything about it. Yeah.
You signed my yearbook. It was kind of I can't believe I just met you and you're awesome and you're so weird. It's attractive. And I was like, somebody appreciates me. Somebody gets me. What I remember most about our friendship is that we dated, but we're better off as friends. And
yeah. Go ahead.
You know what? It was interesting. The first glimpse that I got into Christine was the fact that you had to console her over your breakup.
I did tell him that. I said that was my most memorable breakup because you said something's missing, that we lack chemistry. And I said, I understand, whatever. And you were very upset. You didn't want to hurt my feelings because you're just a good person. And I was consoling you on the phone. I was leaving for Maine the next day with a friend. I was like, well, we're talking forever, and I'm consoling you for breaking up with me. And it was, that was hilarious.
That's a testament to our friendship. We've always been really good friends. And what I remember most about my time with Jason is he worked at a grocery store at the time. And
gourmet food store.
Sorry, I apologize. It was a gourmet food store. And most of our time together would be me showing up to his work and helping him close. And I would just help sweep and mop up the place or whatever. And the owner would come to me and be like, you know that you don't actually work here. You know that I don't pay you, right? I said, yeah, I know. I'm spending time with my friend.
My God, I forgot about that. Chris, you're a gem. I guess
you owe this lady about what was the pay back then? $5 an hour?
Well, yeah, whatever the minimum wage would have been.
It might have been $6. Might have been $6.
Yeah, but how was that? I mean, the chemistry wasn't there, but you've remained friends ever since. So there is a chemistry of some sort.
Yeah, friendship is its own kind of chemistry, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Then Chris moved to Maine, and Bar Harbor was my favorite vacation spot. So I was like, now I have someone to visit up there, but I didn't want to impose. So I went up with friends and spent a few hours visiting Chris. I don't like to be the in position. I don't want to intrude on people's lives. And, I'm coming up to visit, and then they have to stop their life for me. I don't want to do that. I'm just kind of, if you have a few hours to kill, let's have a drink, catch up.
Yeah. I did that once to my mom and dad when I came home on leave from the Air Force. And when I got to the front door, somebody answered the door and said, "Oh, they already moved." They didn't.
Your own parents.
They didn't bother to tell anybody where they moved to. No, they were actually always they didn't know when I was coming home from the military. I would never tell anybody until I finally came home when I was discharged out of Washington, D.C. Christine, the one thing about you that I find interesting is you refer to yourself as a dyed-in-the-wool introvert. Yet you went to Maine, you studied biology, marine biology, and then you went to the Galapagos Islands, which had to be a thrill. I know you're looking, you're going, how does he know?
I know. I'm like, are you Googling me? I'm
Christine Herbert, this is your life.
This is your life.
Is this going to sound familiar?
This is not how I thought the show was going to unfold here. So I'm just fascinated. Go ahead. Yes.
No, I mean, it had to be fascinating because when we think about the beginning and the evolution of life on this planet, we think of the Galapagos Islands with all the different species and stuff. And someone like yourself, although you say you're an introvert, I don't believe it. You may be shy and not go out to this, that, and the other a lot, but I think your adventurism is something to be loved and to enjoy. I mean, how many people can turn around and say, "So, what did you do at between the last time I saw you at the high school reunion?" "Well, I went to the Galapagos Islands." It's not a subject that comes up a whole lot.
No, but I have to say, if you have the opportunity, you absolutely have to go because it is one of the most magical places on earth, and you will feel like Snow White. If you pour water in your hand and just hold out your hand, a bird will inevitably land on your hand and drink water out of your hand. I have a picture
I'm
of
not
it.
good with that.
True.
I'm not good with that. I have a fear of birds. It's horrifying to me. But thank you for the warning.
Yeah.
You have a fear of birds?
Yeah, I do. My whole life. Do you remember?
He's got a Hitchcock thing going on
here.
Yeah. Well, I have a fear of birds too, but I usually carry a 45, so it takes care of that. Without any question. There you go. There's some free. But what was it about? What did you learn at the Galapagos Islands? I mean, what did you get from it being a marine biology student?
Oh gosh, it was really fascinating because I'd never been to a place where humans were not considered a predator, where all the animals, all the sea life and the bird life, they don't have any predators. They just eat the bugs and maybe the lizards or whatever, but everything won't get out of your way. The most fascinating thing is you got to watch where you step because the birds won't go away, the iguanas won't get out of your way. You just have to make sure you're not stepping on anything. You can swim in the ocean and play with the sea lions or the penguins, or you can just play with everything, and they have no fear of you. It's fascinating.
That's got to be interesting because I can't imagine any place on earth where the animals don't have a fear of something.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Even my cat, there was a guy here today fixing the air conditioning, and the minute she hears anybody knocking on the door besides me, she disappears. And she'll come up and look on the bed and go, "Is it all clear? Is it all clear?" And I go, "Yeah, dummy, it's all clear." But was it when you were in high school or later, did the dream start happening about going to Africa?
Yeah, I think that started earlier. And I'm not sure where that idea kind of came from. Maybe it was because I just watched a lot of National Geographic as a kid. I just loved to watch the animals. I thought it was just fascinating. The place fascinated me, but I don't know when it really became like a firm idea. Like, I'm doing this, like, I'm definitely going to Africa. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm going to Africa. But it was there. And I remember it clearly by the time I was in high school, it was definitely a fixed idea, but I think it started much earlier.
And the Peace Corps, because we're going to talk about, because that's not something Jason, I think you'll agree with me. You could probably talk. I had a graduating class in high school of 800 people. I'm pretty safe to say that I could probably ask the 800 kids that I graduated with, what do you want to do? And I don't think the Peace Corps is one of the things that would even slightly come up on anybody's radar.
It's like a fictional thing in my mind, in my life. It's like, yeah, it's like a Peace Corps astronaut, something people dream about but never actually do.
Yeah. I remember the Peace Corps because it was started by Sergeant Shriver and his wife Eunice Kennedy of the Kennedy clan.
He was the first director, but it was JFK who started it. Yes.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful organization, and we're going to get in depth with that.
Wait, JFK?
Yeah, John F. Kennedy. Yeah,
he was the one that came up with the idea.
Mind blowing.
Yeah.
It was actually a funny story. That was not even. I didn't catch it. If that was a pun. Oh, ow.
That was terrible. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that one hurt.
The following program is brought to you by Puns Incorporated.
And this is why I was a little nervous to get on the show with you guys, because you are professional comedians, right? You're professional goofballs, and I'm only an amateur goofball here. So I dabble at most. So some of these jokes are just going to whiz by me. You got to reel it back and say that was a pun.
Yeah, but between the two of us, you're more beautiful than the two of us put together.
Hey.
What, Fred? What do you want? All right, but I mean, where did the thought of the Peace Corps come from? Again, this goes back to what I said before we went on the air. As you read this book, The Color of the Elephant, we're going to get into why it's entitled that. Please get this. Where can people get the book, by the way, Christine?
Almost anywhere. If it's not in your local bookshop, they can order it for you. But you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Barnes & Noble. You can get it through bookshop.org, wherever you like.
This book, and I'm just going to say this to anybody who's watching this program, this book is an extraordinary story of an adventure on her way to Africa. And her adventures in Africa. We have some photographs we're going to show you, and what it's like to be in a third world country. And we'll get into it towards the end of the program, what it's like to come back to America after you've been in a place where you've been living in a mud hut rather, for almost 2 years. This is an extraordinary story, and it opens your eyes to how lucky we are in this country. And if you get your butt out there in the world, you can make a difference. And Christine talks about that, not that she thought she was going to tear the world apart by making a difference, but she thought it made a difference in her own life to bring her alive. And we're going to get into that as we move forward. But I wanted people to understand why you're on this particular program. This is a fascinating book. You need to get it and to read it. You will thank me an awful lot. But Christine, as I was reading this book and I was going through some stuff that Jason sent me, I realized you're an old soul. You're a person who, you may be introverted, but you love to give. You love to serve other people. You're not looking for anything in return other than the satisfaction of helping someone. And I don't mean just helping grandma across the street once in a while. I'm talking about the real helping people, which is what you did when you got to Africa, which is why you probably went to the Galapagos being a marine biologist. You learned so much. You're searching for the inner you. You're searching for the inner us and what makes us all come together and how we can come together and help each other in these particular trying times. This is Gary Allen here on Main Street with Christine Herbert, the author of The Color of the Elephant, and Mr. Jason Pollock, a comedian, an entrepreneur himself, and just a really nice guy who writes books about flies. It's just an interesting thing. And we're on here every Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m. And I hope you're enjoying the particular program. If you want to make some comments, there is a place to do so. What was it about the Peace Corps that opened your eyes and said, I got to go do that?
You know what? I think that was a mystery even to me. I always had this idea in my head that I would one day join the Peace Corps, or that I would like to try. And I think that came from just growing up, there were always these PSAs on television, the toughest job you'll ever love. And, the people on the PSAs would be doing these fascinating things in these countries that I just, I couldn't believe my eyes. And I thought, wow, could I ever do something like that? And it looked hard. Like people were out there with pickaxes and shovels and they're picking corn and they're digging wells. And I was like, gosh, that looks really hard. The toughest job you'll ever love. What would that be? What would that be like? And would I want to do something that was tough like that? And so I kind of always had it in my mind and in my heart that I would like to do that one day. And then things just kind of, happened in my life where I had some space that opened up where I could do that. And I thought, this is it. I'm 30, now is the time to jump on this. Who knows how much longer I'll just have this free time in this free space to be able to go and serve in the Peace Corps. And so I did it. I just signed up and nobody understood it. They're like, are you crazy? What are you doing?
Yeah.
You have a comfortable life. Why are you going to do this? But I just would not be dissuaded. And the more people pushed me and being like, no, you really should rethink this. You shouldn't do this. The more I thought, no, I actually do want to do this. And it's something I wanted to do for a long time. And you're not going to talk me out of it. And I'm going to do it. And I did.
When you apply to the Peace Corps, is there a website that you go to? And what qualifications do you have to have other than the willingness to go and do?
Yeah, so it's actually quite difficult to get in the Peace Corps. I'm not sure the acceptance rate, but it's competitive. We'll say that. You should have at least a bachelor's degree in whatever field that you say that you're going to serve in. It's not a requirement. You may have a lot of life experience that makes up for not having a degree, but you should have some sort of education or experience background. And you just have to be healthy enough to serve at your post. Some posts are more challenging than others. Like you alluded to, I lived in a mud hut in the middle of Africa, and it was a very remote post. So they wouldn't have sent somebody who wasn't healthy enough to serve there or able-bodied enough to serve there. But that's not saying that you couldn't serve there if you have something that is considered a disability. For example, one of the first volunteers that served in Zambia, I talk about him a lot. He's great. Josh Swiller, he wrote a book called The Unheard, which is another fascinating Peace Corps memoir of serving in Zambia. He was deaf. He's a deaf person. And so he served by reading lips and learning how to speak the local language there. We both learned Bemba at first. And yeah, I'm like, and he served in the Peace Corps, and I'm like, that's amazing. So, don't count yourself out if you think, oh, I'm not Peace Corps material. They wouldn't accept me. Don't count yourself out.
You were a little bit older than the average Peace Corps volunteer, however, as it is in this book, The Color of the Elephant. I'm going to hold this thing up here as much as I possibly can, because if I can get this young lady to sell these books, she'll come and visit me in Florida. But you were a little bit older than the average volunteer that was part of your group, correct?
Yeah, most people will join the Peace Corps right out of college because it's a way to get some, experience to put on your resume. It's a way to defer your student loans for a little bit as you serve overseas. So a lot of people are right out of Peace Corps, and they're taking that time to kind of sort themselves out and figure out what they want to do with their lives. I went in my 30s. There was somebody in our group who was in his 60s, and he said, "This is my retirement, and I'll do it as long as they let me."
Wow.
So like I said, don't count yourself out, even if you think I'm not the typical Peace Corps volunteer. If you have a heart to serve, go ahead and apply. See what happens.
Is that really, as Jason is sitting there, and I know we're both listening to this, that's the key word, service. If you're willing to serve, they're willing to give you an opportunity. And even if it's not the Peace Corps, there's opportunities in your local communities to go and do work to help others.
Absolutely. There's always an opportunity to serve. All you have to do is look for it.
But you have to have a willingness within inside you. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm a Jew. Okay. I lived with my mother for a long time. She thought I was my father thought I was God, so I fit right into the house of David without any problem. And I was a comedian and I was in show business. So I meet all the criteria for being Jewish. But the bottom line is you have to have a willingness to do so. You don't have to be a carpenter or a plumber or any of those things in order to be a member of the Peace Corps, correct?
I knew of one Jewish carpenter. It didn't work out too well.
No, it didn't either. No.
Ouch.
I have an old joke that goes along with that, but we'll keep that for another day.
So as far as like having the job skills, I didn't know how to build wells or latrines, which was part of my job. I was a healthcare.
Wait a minute. You work at a spa. How do you not know how to build a well?
Isn't it in the job description? Healing waters. Come on.
Another reference to Jews. Thank you very much.
So they teach you, as long as you have some sort of background in your field, and the fields that they have there are agriculture, environment, education, youth development, community, economic development, and healthcare. And I was considered qualified for the healthcare assignment. So, I had a degree in biology and I was a massage therapist. What's a massage therapist know about, I don't know, doing anti-AIDS education or
I don't have
addressing malaria.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, we're going to get into that because that's something that you contracted while you were there. Jason, I'll be honest with you, Christine, if you joined the military, you would have learned how to dig a latrine in no time at all.
It turns out it's not that hard.
No,
it's one of the first things they taught us how to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that difficult. Okay, now. Do they pay you? Do you get pay if you're part of the Peace Corps?
That's a question from a true Jew. You get paid for this?
You get a stipend.
Is that all you think about?
Which is almost like getting paid, except just barely. Only technically do you get paid. So they pay for all your expenses, all your medical stuff, to be able to go, all your work papers and all that. I mean, they fly you there, they fly you back, everything's kind of paid for. When you're there, you make a stipend to help keep you in the standard of living at what everybody else has. So they gave me a bicycle and they gave me, it was like maybe between $100 to $200 a month, which was a lot. Actually, that was a whole lot more than my neighbors had. So I would save it and really just live off a portion of that and then travel with the rest of the money when I had some time off.
Yeah. Now, your flight to your dream country, your dream place,
destination,
dream continent, I should say. Because somebody the other day said, "Oh, I'm going to have an author on. She wrote a book about being in Africa." He said, "Oh, that's a big, is that like the state of Florida?" I said, "No, it's a continent, and then there's different countries inside." I mean, this is what
kind of big place.
It is a bit. I've been and while you were talking, neither of you know this, but I am still very good friends with a gentleman named Patrick Wayne.
Okay.
Patrick Wayne is John Wayne's son.
Oh.
I also know Ethan Wayne, who lived in Las Vegas when I was an entertainer out there. And
is he related to Bruce Wayne?
No. And she says we're the only comics on board. She's already become partly Jewish. Yes, such a deal. We're going to be right here. And I remember talking because they both, Ethan wasn't because he was too young, but Patrick was on the set of Atari, which was the movie about John Wayne in Africa, collecting animals for the zoos and stuff, which they don't do that anymore. And I remember Patrick saying, and Africa is not what you think it is. It's not that movie that my dad made. It's a whole other ball of wax. And it's, it's glamorized through that movie, but that's not what Africa is all about. And in different countries can be completely different from one another. Did you find that when you were there? We're going to get into your
I found it to be a total culture shock just reading your story.
Yes.
Book.
Yeah.
That's why I want people to read this. The Color of the Elephant.
Yeah. Africa is many things. Like I said, it's a very big place. Zambia is fairly large for a country. It's about the size of Texas. So it's a fairly large place. But even within Zambia, the culture will change depending where you are in the country. Where I lived, it was very rural, like I said, mud hut living, no electricity, no running water. But you really get a taste of what it's like to be there in that environment. But I did do a lot of traveling, went to a number of different countries in Africa, and the culture was very different, as I traveled. And as much as I loved those places, I was so grateful that I got Zambia as an assignment, because out of every place I went in Africa, Zambia was my favorite. It was absolutely my favorite. Yeah.
Kenya's too trendy. Like you want something that like it was popular when you went there.
Right.
No, I mean, if you go to Zambia now, it's like, who hasn't been to Zambia?
Yeah, who hasn't?
You went to Zambia before it was popular, before it was cool.
I know. Yeah. I went along the coast of Namibia there to Swakopmund, and I thought, oh, this is, really fun and interesting and really the life. And then later, like a year later, I think Angelina Jolie adopted a kid there, or they had their babies there, and I was like, it's ruined now. Like now it's like they'll let anybody go to Swakopmund, but it used to be cool.
Yeah. Christine Herbert and Jason Pollock joins us here on Main Street. Gary Allen with you on the C News Network every Tuesdays at 2. Next week, we have some very interesting guests. And by the way, I have a very interesting guest coming on in October, if we can just get down the times when he can make it. And you know him better as Fluffy.
Okay.
Jason knows who Jason knows who I'm talking about.
Gabriel Iglesias.
Gabriel Iglesias, the comedian. Yeah, he just can't find the time. I mean, he can't even for me. But you on your flight into Zambia, you were sick as can be from the inoculations that were given to you. Was it just a reaction to the inoculations, or?
Yeah, I think so. It's hard to say. It was
what a way to enter the country.
Yeah, barf bag in hand, right? Yeah, it was not pretty. It was not pretty.
And the poor flight attendant trying to, can we help you? Can we help you, please?
Yeah, she's like, you have to go to hospital. Do we need to get a doctor? God. Should I call a doctor? And I'm like, no, I'll be all right. Because again, I'm crying copious tears as we land, and she thinks it's because I'm so sick that I just can't take it anymore, that I need to go to the hospital. And the truth is, as soon as I see Zambia coming into view, I'm like, this is it. This is my big adventure, the thing that I wanted to do my whole life. And here it is. I'm coming to Africa, and I'm going to live here. And this is my first sight of it. And I just started, the tears were just coming. So I told her they were happy tears, but she didn't quite believe me. Yeah.
By the way, the one thing we haven't really talked about is the title of the book, The Color of the Elephant.
Oh, yeah.
Now I know that elephants are not all over Africa. Yes. I know they're not. Okay, they are in certain areas, and it's sort of like the American bison. They are in certain areas, and they're not in other areas. I mean, bison were never in Florida, but what was the reason for The Color of the Elephant, which is a fabulous title?
Well, thank you. And people tend to get it wrong all the time, like even in print, like The Colors of the Elephant, or
no,
The Color of the Elephant.
Color of the Elephant. Yes, it is right here. It's a book. It's right here. I tell you.
I don't know why it's difficult, but apparently it's difficult. But actually, and there are elephants in Zambia, and yes, I have seen them, and they're glorious. It's just really fascinating creatures.
Such smart creatures. They're
so
amazing.
Smart. Yeah.
Do you know the difference
too? It's horrifying.
Can you tell the difference between an African elephant and an Indian elephant?
The ears, yeah. The ears look like Africa, I think, and the ears of the Indian elephant look like India. That's how I remember it anyway.
And most of the elephants that are in the circuses that they can train are Indian elephants. They're not African elephants. African elephants are rogue. They will go rogue at the drop of a hat. I mean, it's like going to Yellowstone. Don't provoke the bison, because you can't train them. No matter what you do, but what's the title? Did you see an elephant that was a different color, or?
So the title refers to a line in the book, and it's more of a metaphorical elephant here. And I talk about race often being the elephant in the room. We don't want to kind of bring it up. We don't want to shine a light on it, because we don't want to maybe appear ignorant or say the wrong thing. And I wondered, when I went to Africa, and now I was the minority, if people were going to kind of shy away from talking about race as well, about the differences between us. But it turned out to not be like that at all. People brought it up all the time, every day, as if I could forget I was white. People always talking about that I was the white person. And I thought it was fascinating. And I thought, well, maybe, it depends on the color of the elephant, whether or not race is going to be the elephant in the room. And so that's where that line comes from.
Is it one? So in other words, there you found race, while it's a topic every day, it's not a vile topic like it is in this country.
No, they would bring it up all the time. And a lot of times it was a way to celebrate it, or to lift me up, just to make me feel like, oh, look, it's so wonderful to have somebody here.
How did it feel to be in the How did it feel to be in the reverse?
It felt strange. It kind of felt like being a celebrity all the time, and I had no reason or interest to be a celebrity. But they always treated you like you were. In fact, there's a part in the book that I even talk about, or once I was just walking by and a group of kids were having their photographs taken, their school pictures and their individual shots. And they insisted I come in and be in the school photos. And then even as the individual shots, I'd have the kids sitting on my lap and they wanted their picture taken with me. So I was like, I felt like, what am I, in Disneyland, and I'm Mickey Mouse or something, and everybody wants their picture taken with me. I thought, what are these kids going to think when they grow up? Are they going to make a story about, how I was a teacher?
The legend of the white woman in Zambia.
There's something for us to do at Disneyland. I'll tell you that right now. Oh boy. Oh boy.
So it was fascinating, right? To just be kind of lifted up and being like, look, you're something special. And I'm like, really? But thanks. It was interesting.
Julian, let's see some of the pictures from the website, because I want people to. Was this the schoolroom, or was this where you? Well, this isn't.
That's a friend of mine. She had built this little school, it's a nursery school, on the back of her house. And that's a kid going into the school. And I helped her get some funds to build a bigger school. So that was one of my projects when I was there, one of my side projects. And it was just because I met somebody who, became a friend and had some need that she needed fulfilled. And I said, okay, let me talk to some people I know in the States. And we got some donations of materials and books and money for her to build a new school.
Oh, wow. Next.
Oh, here's some kids. This is another school shot. This is the school at my where I lived in St. Anthony's. And at the time they were doing some renovations, and the school kids are required really to help with the labor, which is so different than the US, right? So the kids helped build and renovate their own school, and here they are among some brick rubble and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great way to go. I really do. You help build what you're learning, and you learn a skill at the very same time. Okay, next.
This is a little kid sacked out on a mom's lap. She's sitting on a brick there. That would be typical for women. Women, we always had to sit on the ground or on a brick or stump or something like that if there was one. The men got the chairs and the women would be on the ground. And that's just, part of their social status. No. Now, I was fine with it. A lot of times, because I was the Mzungu, they would make me sit in a chair.
The what? Wait. Time out. You were the what?
I was the Mzungu, or the white person. It's really just a term for like English speaker. But they'll even use it with each other. It's almost like I don't know how to say it, like you're the man. They might just call somebody else a Mzungu too. But
so yes. Women are secondary citizens.
In some ways, it is a patriarchal system. So traditionally, men would have, say, the first cut of the meat, the prime cuts of the meat, and they would sit in a higher chair. They'd be served by the women and so forth. So there are certain things that still hold true today. However, women can have some sort of power. They can be in positions of power.
Yes.
There's just an equal chance of having a head woman in your village as a head man, which I found interesting.
We're going to talk about that. Yeah, we're going to talk about that when it comes to the color of the beads. Yes, I found that fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Next on the projected photos. Here is Christine looking for her future friend Gary's new pair of alligator shoes.
Yeah, these are hippos actually in the background.
Oh, really?
There are a whole bunch of hippos back there, which are actually quite dangerous. I was a little nervous sitting that close to the edge of the barge. Yeah, that's not a very good picture, but clearly I'm traveling here. I'm in Namibia or Botswana here. I can tell because I'm just wearing some shorts and I'm not wearing my shitenge around me. I'd always be wearing my shitenge if I were.
Wait, time out. What's a what?
So it's like a printed cloth that you
like
would wrap around your waist, like a sarong, exactly. Yeah. And it's a sign of respect in Zambia. So all the women would wear that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't know. Is there one more, or have we exhausted the?
If there's not more, please do go on Instagram. There's loads. There's hundreds of pictures from my travels in Zambia, and it's at author Herbert.
What were your goals before you got there? Before you understood completely of what your assignment? Well, you knew what your assignment was, and you knew it was going to be for 2 years. Could you have extended beyond that 2 years? By the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you could sign up for another term of service. It's much easier to sign up for another term before you graduate, I guess is I don't know what's the word, before you complete your assignment. It would be harder for me to get back in, but at this point, but I do want to do that someday. I think I would like to serve again.
Did you have goals? When you got there, you took a look around after a couple of days, and give us not only your goals, but before you got there, you must have had dreams and expectations. And I know in your book, you talk about how your expectations were met and exceeded. So talk about what you thought when you first got there and what you could accomplish and not, or did you think, what did I get myself into now?
Gary, I'm sorry, but when you first started asking that question,
yes, sir.
I pictured Chris getting out of the car, looking around like, yeah, this is nice, but a lot of this has got to change. All right, we're going to put a hut over here. Take down those 2 trees. I don't like them. They're freaking me out.
Yeah.
I am not even sure what I was hoping to accomplish besides the goals that the Peace Corps was going to set out for me. Mm-hmm. I think it took not too long for me to reduce my expectations of meeting those goals, especially because there were so many, and just try to get through my service, to make friends, to make connections, and to feel like a part of my village, like a valuable part of the community.
Right.
And I think that's, if any volunteer is smart, they will kind of reduce their expectations to those goals. And then if they accomplish anything while they're there, then that's a bonus. Then that feels wonderful. But the goals of the Peace Corps, besides your specific work goals, are mostly cross-cultural. There are 3 goals to serving in the Peace Corps. One is to provide the manpower that the developing country needs, which is obvious. That's why you're there. But the other 2 goals are maybe not as obvious. And one is to learn about the culture of the host country, and share that with Americans back home eventually. And the other is just letting them get to know you as an American and sharing your culture with them. And that's it. They're peacekeeping goals. They're cross-cultural sharing goals. So as long as you're trying to fulfill those first and foremost, what you actually accomplish is not under a microscope with Peace Corps. They're like, are you fitting in with your community? Are you learning the language? Are you making friends? Great, you're doing good.
How was that for you when you first got there, and your host family that you stayed with, and the different people you got to meet? Were they open arms, welcoming you, glad you were there, or were there people that didn't really want you there?
Yeah, everyone just loved that I was there. They were happy to know me, happy to see me. Everybody was always coming by my place to sit by my fire and chat and be a friend with me. Have a picture taken with me, or just spend time with me.
There we go again with that picture taking. Here we go.
they'd send their kids over to, maybe learn their letters and sit with me. I had like my own informal little school. But the only people that I think were not happy to see me is if I went to a remote area. And this happened on more than one occasion, I hate to say. And I'd see a little kid and they had never seen a white person before. Wow. And so they'd cry and scream and run to their mothers and their moms would try to reassure them that I was not a ghost. And
really?
Yes.
Wow.
So sometimes I would horrify little children. So that was a little sad for me.
Chris, you did that in this country too, though. I didn't want to bring it up, but
you never had the heart to tell me.
I just remember walking with you and little kids going, "Ah, what is
it? Run away." So that did occasionally happen, but I don't recall an instance where there was an adult that appeared to not want me to be there. Yeah.
There were two words that that ran through the book for me. And you talked about it at the end on your way back home, but I think it kind of runs through the whole story, and that's being inconvenienced and uncomfortable. I mean, you're dealing with pestilence of all kinds. Yeah. You're living in a mud hut, which had to be hilarious rainstorm, let's fix the hut. And then there's poisonous snakes. Now, how often, I hate snakes. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't know too many people in the world. Well, wait, my ex-mother-in-law. But I don't know too many people in the world that like snakes, poisonous or otherwise. And I know in Africa that 60% of the snakes are poisonous. Yeah. I mean, how did you deal with it? I mean, in Vietnam, they used to come right through our hoots. We woke up one morning and there was a python in there who just ate a small baby pig, laid there for 3 days, and finally left on its own, didn't bother us. But how did you deal with all of it?
I dealt with it just the same way as everybody else there did, which was just to kill it. If you saw a snake, you just killed it and you didn't even notice or care. You didn't look it up and be like, is this a good one or one of those poisonous ones? Like they said, there's so many poisonous ones. Just go ahead and kill it. Don't second guess yourself.
And Christina wore a belt and she put a little notch on it. Yeah, there's another one for you. There's another one.
I know, seriously. I would be terrible in a post-apocalyptic world. I can't put a minnow on a hook without feeling guilt. I can't do it.
Yeah, you're not going to make it in Zambia.
No. And you wouldn't have done well in Vietnam either, because because Vietnam is a third world country, and believe me, there is everything in the world that could kill you there besides the Viet Cong themselves. But inconvenience and uncomfortable are two words that get me through this whole book. When I read about, you said, look, I have no illusions about why I'm here, and I have no thoughts that I'm going to do anything great. I'm not going to invent anything that's going to save anybody's lives. But you have learned something that I think a lot of people could learn, not only from the book, but if they went to Africa or a third world country, Christina, and that is how lucky we are that things are so convenient, and being uncomfortable may just be a temporary thing where people grow up there in poverty and never know any difference.
Yeah. And, I think as you were talking, I remember this part in the book, and it was a real turning point for me as a volunteer and as a person in that headspace of being uncomfortable and inconvenienced. I get to a point where I'm so comfortable with that. That is like an old pair of shoes, that's just where you're at, that it doesn't even faze you anymore.
Yeah.
I got so used to mud hut living. And there's this part in the book that I hope everybody finds funny, where it's so hot. It's in the hot, wet season. So it's like a steam room kind of situation. Everybody does almost nothing when these days get really crazy hot.
Your
and
pores
steamy.
Must have been magical.
I'm telling you, there's a lot of sweat happening. And I would just lay on this bamboo mat, and I had a concrete floor. So I would lay on my concrete floor and pretty much do nothing, read some novels and then doze and whatever. You just couldn't work. You couldn't do anything. And so once it's nightfall, I decided to get up from my place on the floor to get up under my mosquito net, because now the malaria carrying mosquitoes are out. And so I want to get under my mosquito net. So I go to get up in the bed and I I don't know why I was just, I don't know, maybe taking off my clothes or whatever. And I was like, what's this lump? And I was like, there's a lump right here. And I flipped the side of my bra out, and this cockroach comes flipping out.
No.
And then skitters under the bed. And then I was just like, I've got cockroaches on my body. And so I just kind of ran my hands over my body, and I'm like, I don't feel anymore. I think that's good. So I just get into bed. And then I thought, this is a sad state of affairs when patting myself down for cockroaches is the best I can come up with for hygiene. Like I couldn't draw some water and take a bath. I'm like, is there any more? I don't feel any more lumps. I think I'm good.
I have a question. I have a question from one of our viewers, from Sharon. She asked, how do you kill a snake with a stick?
She said pantomime. Pantomime, how you kill a snake with a stick.
Oh, pantomime. Oh, pantomime. I'm sorry. I didn't see that word. I was I guess
there's a lot of whacking involved, and then a few extras just to make sure. Just to make sure it's toast.
I didn't see the word pantomime. It's the vision thing working here. Let's talk about something that I found fascinating, and that was when you are wearing a certain necklaces, the women, and they wear certain colors, and those colors identify what may or may not happen that day, or how they're feeling that day. And the mood that they're in. And I was fascinated by the fact that in the book you state, and which is The Color of the Elephant by Christina Herbert. Please get it wherever you possibly can. She is our guest along with Jason Pollock. What is with the colors? I mean, I know I read the wife or the girlfriend can wear the colors to say, not tonight, honey, you're on the couch, or this
is very similar. So I'm actually wearing some beads that are the glass beads. This is from Zambia, actually.
Yeah.
And it's not beads that are worn around your neck. So sorry to correct you. It is actually colors, or it is actually beads that would not be seen, and they'd be worn around the waist, and they'd be worn under your clothes.
I didn't know where you're going with that. I was like, whoa.
They're your waist beads. Yes. And they are like Zambian lingerie. And it depends where you are, what the beads will mean to your husband. And apparently in some places, you might take off your waist beads and hang them at the door to your bedroom, to either indicate, closed for business. This week we are closed for business, or you can say like it's game on. And it depends on I guess what culture, what tribe they're from, whether or not what's significant the waist beads are. But that is kind of a we don't have to have a conversation about this, but honey, now's the time, or honey, save it. So it can be a signal to your husband. But for where I lived, it was more just women would wear them. And the only answer I got was because I'd ask women, I'd be like, what is the significance of the waist beads here? Why do you wear waist beads? And only one woman told me her story of what they signified. And she says, because when your husband goes and he runs his hand along your body at night and he feels the beads, he knows, this is my woman. Otherwise, it might be a snake. And so she thought that was really funny, and she would laugh about it. And she told the punchline several times. And I was like, okay, guess I'm not going to get a straightforward answer here.
Yeah.
It's
Talk about
part of femininity.
What was it like living in a mud hut?
Easier than you would think. I got used to it really easy. There are times that I hated it, like at night in a rainstorm, like you were talking about it raining, and it's just a grass ceiling, it's a thatch roof. So, you're trying to sleep and it's like dripping on you here, and then you're like, and then you move your head somewhere else. And then a minute later, it's dripping on you again. And you're like, wherever I move my head, that's where the drip happens. How is this possible?
Yeah.
So it can be frustrating, or you're trying to eat something and a lizard falls down out of the grass roof and lands right in your porridge. And you're like, fantastic. There goes my meal. Breakfast of champions.
Yeah. Can you imagine, guys, some of the women that we know, even some of the guys that I know, living in a mud hut, Jason? I mean, even Mark, Rick, and Donna, who will tolerate just about everything on the earth, I mean, can you imagine a Kardashian going to Zambia and living in a
I
mud hut?
I would do it for a night or on a reality show where I'm getting paid a lot of money,
Wait.
otherwise.
Didn't you see my show last week when I had a reality show producer on? They don't make a lot of money. They make maybe $1,500 a show, maybe. That's it.
So that's out. No, I can
Yeah.
actually, I see
Forget
you
it.
going, Jason. I see you doing this, but there's like that head camera, like Blair Witch, and the whole time you're just like, "What's that? What's that?
Oh
Are those
yeah,
bats in my
it'll be,
ceiling?" Yeah.
that'll be Scared Stiff. It's called.
Talk about, we've talked about everything, just about. Talk about the people, because I know I put in my promo piece, which you liked, Christine, and thank you so much. And Jason did too. You fell in love with that country and you fell in love with the people.
Mm.
Talk about that love. And if tomorrow the phone rang and they wanted you to go back, Peace Corps or not, would you?
James Lipton, everybody.
And if heaven really exists, you know what my buddy Robin Williams said on that show when they asked him if
Don't name
what's your
drop or anything, but
well,
yeah.
listen, he was one of my dearest friends in the whole world, and they'd ask him, "What's your favorite sound?" He goes, "Huh." He said, "It's refreshing to know that the Pope, even in the middle of a
Sermon.
sermon,
I guess. I don't
that
know.
it can be." And he says, then they bring in that fragrance stuff to tamp it down. But
So,
talk about the people, the love you have for that country,
yeah.
and if the phone rang tomorrow from one of those people, would you go back, Peace Corps or not?
Yeah. So, it's hard to talk about the love that I have for the people that's there because it's so profound and it's so deep and it's also part of memory. So it's very rose colored, isn't it? So I absolutely fell in love with the people there. I felt so at home after a while. I didn't want to come back to the
Yeah,
States. I was a
yeah.
little actually scared to come back to the States.
Until
what
you
really
smelled
fast
pizza.
until I smelled pizza, it was game over. I'm like, please get me on the first plane back. But really, I was scared to come back. I was scared to be, and this sounds really weird, scared to be around so many white people. When I came back, I was scared of white people. I got so
Really?
unused to seeing faces like that and people like that and people that seem to represent a lot of money or power. To me, I felt nervous in their presence. I felt very unsafe being around them, which was a fascinating, strange thing. But apparently, this happens to a lot of volunteers that go through this.
I mean,
So,
I've been afraid of being around my family, but
but it was strange, right? To first find yourself feeling so different, so on the outs, and after a while feeling like this is what safety feels like. These are my people. This is my community. This is where I feel safe and comfortable. And then be
yeah.
taken out of that. And then I didn't feel safe and comfortable with the people that were supposed to be my people. So that was a very strange thing. And as far as going back, I would absolutely love to go back. The only thing that I'm nervous about going back would be the malaria because I've had malaria 3 times and I'm very susceptible to it and it's a terrible disease. So I feel a little nervous about traveling to that part of the world again.
When did you contract it?
Like every wet rainy season, I guess. So like every March or so. Yeah, and like I said, I got it every year. I got it 3 times.
How often have you had it since?
Not at all, thank goodness. So they've given me something that in theory killed it in my liver, whatever was left. But they say once you have had malaria, they're like, you're fine, you're cured, but don't give blood for like 10 years. So, so I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay.
So cured, but not. Awesome.
What was your diet like there on an average day, breakfast, dinner, whatever?
Oh yeah, what if you wanted a snack? What was a common snack there?
There goes Jason. There's another Jewish emperor.
Snacking. I don't think it's solely Jewish endeavor, but
only the Jews snack. Yes.
Yeah.
This is why we're overweight.
Yes. That's why we're overweight. Yes.
So you'll be grossed out. I'm sorry to say. So there'd be like these dried caterpillars that you could like snack on, like chips, I guess, or dried fish, whole fish, like Chisensei or Capenta. I would
Nothing
have those
says
sometimes.
Saturday evening watching the fights like a dried caterpillar. Yes, honey, I'll have a whole bowl of that.
But then, that's depending on the time of year, because it depends what you're growing and what your neighbors are growing and what you're able to have.
What about meat? I mean, there must be some meat that they eat.
No, you don't want it. I mean, bush meat. Yeah, I would. If somebody had meat, I would eat it, but you just didn't ask what it was, because bush meat can be anything. Bush, like you're out in the bush. The bush meat, they would call it.
Meat.
It could be anything. It could be
roadkill.
Or it could be an antelope. It could be like a dassy. It could be mice. It could be anything. You don't know. So
it's not an appetizing word. Bush meat.
I know.
But it is what it is. I mean,
but it's this very general thing, and they just mean we found it in the bush and we killed it, and now you may eat it with us. So, and you would, because you'd be starved for protein. So, and we did eat things like, beetles, or, there were certain bugs that we would eat. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't a lot for snacks, unless, it was that time of year, this bonanza, my favorite time of year, which would have been in, December, where the mangoes would be ripe, and then you would just
that would be
your
so
fill.
refreshing.
I had 5 mango trees in my yard, so we literally have thousands upon thousands of mangoes that ripe all at once, and they're only ripe for a month, and so you just eat as many as you can.
My father loved mangoes. I couldn't stand them. I still can't to this very day.
What?
Yeah, I don't know, Christine. I know that ruins the possibilities of marriage, but
I know it's over for us. I'm sorry to say.
Get this mangoes. Get this book, The Color of the Elephant. You can get it anywhere. It will go into depth more. Christina is coming back. I know she will come back from the show. Jason Pollock, he's always here, and I love him with all my heart.
Incidentally, that being said, thank you for the first time being on your show.
Oh, hey, listen, it is my pleasure to have you on the show. We have killed an hour. We have just about killed an hour. I want to ask Christine.
Don't say that, but if Chris will want to eat the hour.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And Christine, what was the first thing you did when your flight back? I know you took some odd flights and stuff to save some money, but what was the first thing you did?
Odd flights, like they had clowns on them. And
what was the first thing you did when you got to your final destination? You were home. That first couple of days, where did you go? What did you do?
Yeah, that's an easy answer. That would be the bathroom. And I pretty much just lived there for like a week, because the shower is just so magical. There's a bathtub, the faucets go off and on. The water is clean and clear. I mean, it was just, I love indoor plumbing, and I will never take it for granted ever again. Having said that, I can live without it. I have, and I've done it, and I could do it again, but boy, do I love it. I just love indoor plumbing. It's magic.
What was your takeaway from that? What would you like people to know about your adventure to Africa and that you could pass on?
I'd say do it. It's not what you would think of as your classic tourist destination, but there are so many wonderful places to visit and wonderful people to meet. And it's just an extraordinary place. I think, because a lot of people don't go there, there's a lot of mystery around it. But it is a fascinating, wonderful country. And I do hope more people will go there and have their own adventures.
Yeah. Jason, you're absolutely wonderful for sitting there and adding your 2 cents. You're wonderful. God bless you.
Well, thank you, Gary.
You've been so quiet.
It's Gary's show. I'm letting him take the floor, and I'm interjecting when I feel the need. But listen, can I ask Chris a question?
Sure.
Yes.
Thanks. All right. That's all. No,
that was it.
I just
wanted your permission.
If Gary wasn't going to ask this, I apologize. What is next for you? Do you want to write another book? Do you want to go on another adventure?
Absolutely. I definitely feel there's another book or 2 or 12 in me. It's just a matter of getting the time to do it. Writing the first one was hard. I think it was a battle against imposter syndrome. And that battle was many years, and now that is out of the way, like, okay, I've accomplished it. It can be done. I'm not a complete hack, only mostly a hack. I mean, it's like people are buying it and saying they like it. So
no, you are a beautiful soul. You are a beautiful person. You have a heart as big as the world, and service is a number one thing for you. And I wish you nothing but the best. Now, you two stay right there. Okay. I want to thank everybody for joining us here today on Main Street, right here on the C News Network. Next week, I have Mr. Frank Pavetta and Miss Lisa Sherman joining us. They are co-producers of a brand new show called Taylor Simon King, which is an absolutely fantastic show about 3 American troubadours, and it's fabulous. It's been on and off Broadway for quite some time. Look up in the corner, that's Jason. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So join us next week at 2 p.m. right here on the C News Network. I hope you had a wonderful time. I hope you had a wonderful week. Please take care of yourselves until next time. Until next time, though, take care of yourselves and each other. You two stay there. We'll be right back.